Bitte sagt mir, Quali ist gut. Wie ist mein Bild? Okay, Dankeschön. Danke. Natürlich fängt es sofort an, dass ich ja alles auf Mute habe. Der Kollege ist schon da. Was ist da so früh? Warte, ich muss ihn ganz kurz schreiben. ähm, Bevor es losgeht. Er ist schon da. Alles klar. Also, was ich heute natürlich sage. Hallo, willkommen zur Marks Märchenstunde mit Kasim Edebali heute. Ähm, ich hoffe, die Internetquali läuft weiter gut, weil ich habe mir nur einen Adapter geholt und ich hoffe, es klappt. Aber es geht heute gar nicht um mich. Mark hat richtig viel heute zu tun. Also ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob er es heute schafft, aber hier ist das erste deutsche Fernsehen mit der Kasim-Show. Bart, ihr wisst, für euch jeden Dienstag nach meinem Workout sofort Bart richtig hübsch für euch machen. Also mal gucken, wo das noch hingeht. Ja, Marc kann es wahrscheinlich heute nicht schaffen. Ich habe noch gerade mit Sami geredet. Ach ja, ich bin gerade überall, bevor wir chillen. Nochmal vielen, vielen Dank für die Spendenaktion. Ich glaube, wir haben jetzt schon über 140.000 Euro gespendet. Ich sage es jedes Mal, die Bromance Family ist wie keine andere, die bewegt Sachen, das ist unglaublich. So, ich sage immer, das war der einzige wirkliche Grund, warum ich nach Deutschland gegangen bin, weil es einfach so viel Spaß mit der Community macht. Irgendjemand ist in Not, die Community kommt zusammen. Also, wenn ihr weiter spenden wollt oder noch nicht gespendet habt, packt den Link rein. Sami ist, Bartpflegen muss sein. Sami, Ehrenmann, warte, ich muss noch mal hier vorlesen kurz. Boom. Ey, das ist echt unglaublich. Ich habe meiner Frau schon auch erzählt, sie meinte, hey, was war das für eine Spendenaktion? Also Steffi war auch echt impressed. Also nochmal vielen, vielen Dank dafür. Über 141.000. Voila. Wie gesagt, Marc wahrscheinlich nicht heute am Start. Es gibt viel zu erzählen. Aber heute haben wir wirklich einen richtig, richtig coolen Gast. Und zwar der Kollege Menelik Watson. Okay, ich sehe schon sein kleines Gesicht und I said, I can see your face, but they can't see you yet. Okay, I gotta bring you in. Menelik Watson kommt aus England, aus Manchester in England, war mit Björn am College. War am Björn mit College, Florida State. Also kann er euch gleich mal richtig lustige Stories erzählen. Wurde dann in der zweiten Runde gedraftet, war bei den Raiders, war bei den Broncos. Ich habe gegen ihn im College gespielt, ich hatte immer Kopfschmerzen. Ich habe gegen ihn, als er bei den Raiders war, gespielt, immer Kopfschmerzen. In Denver haben wir gegeneinander gespielt, immer Kopfschmerzen. Aber er ist echt ein Ehrenmann wie kein anderer. Nochmal für Leute, die jetzt erst reinkommen. Marc hat heute viel zu tun. Er meint, er hofft, er schafft es, aber er gibt sein Bestes. Wie gesagt, ich bringe jetzt mal den Ehrenmann rein. Ich glaube, er hat eine richtig coole Story zu erzählen. Und ja, man, Cam Jordan 106. Mark Ingram hat heute Geburtstag. Wir reden später darüber. Aber ich bringe jetzt mal Menelik rein. Bam.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, bro. Had a little workout this morning.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you know, trying to get my soul on, trying to get like you, bro.
No, hey, hold on. I think what looks better. Let's do it. Zoom in, zoom out. I could just make you big.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Oh, you can make me small. I'm good.
But I think we just two, so I'm gonna keep it right here. So, Menelik, listen. I gave a quick intro. Obviously, probably one of my favorite guys I ever played against, and favorite guys I ever played with. I can't say enough good things. Bjorn can say. I know you got some stories with Bjorn. Right. But understand, you know, most guys are German. I think everybody speaks great English, but if you want to speak German, do your best.
Well, I took German in high school, man. I took it as one of my school options.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I stopped. I went and took French instead. But it's so funny. I was listening to you just talk, and I was like, I understand a lot of what you're saying. It's kind of making sense. So I just won't ever disrespect the language by trying to say something back. So let's just keep it there, bro.
I'm gonna speak in German real quick.
Yep.
I could say it in English, so I'm gonna translate after him.
Yeah.
Der Typ hier, ich sag euch, er ist einer der wenigen Menschen, der mich winzig aussehen lässt. Der Typ ist so krass, ist so stark. Wenn ihr ein Bild seht, ich muss mal irgendwie ein Bild gleich hier hochladen. I'm just saying, like, you're one of the biggest guys I know. You're one of the few people who really make me look small. But you know what? I'm gonna give the mic to you just to introduction to what we do here. You know, we love getting guys on the Märchenstunde. It's story time.
Yeah.
Where we quick. Do you have a bathrobe?
I got some Bel Air ones I can throw one on.
Get it right now. Get it right now. Get it right now. Ihr wisst, das Wichtigste. Wir können ja nicht einen Gast haben ohne Bademantel. Nein, aber er ist echt ein super Typ.
Which one they want?
Man, hold on, we got options. I'll go with the black one. I like the black. I like the black one.
You like the black one?
Yeah,
let's go with the black one.
Okay. So everybody pretty much who's on the show, you know, because it's Märchenstunde where we tell stories, you know, in front of bonfires. We usually put the robe on, so really, you know, we just feel
comfy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. Hey, listen, I'm gonna pass it to you. What we usually do, we get guys on, talk about the NFL experience, talk about, you know, pretty raw, their ups and downs throughout their career. And I know you have a very unique and great story. So let's bring it all the way back and just tell us about your journey, man, from Manchester, from the UK to the NFL to where you are now.
Yeah, bro. You know, growing up in England, you know, as you just like you know, and many other kids growing up in Europe, we have, you know, we see American sports is probably the big influence in us, right? And a lot of us want to play basketball, right? And then we see guys like Dirk Nowitzki, right? We have guys like Luol Deng, guys who have actually done and been that. And that was my dream as a kid. Like, I wanted to play basketball. You know, coming from, you know, a rough neighborhood, a lot of drugs, a lot of gangs, a lot of guns, violence and stuff. You know, you kind of look for your kind of niche in the world and you try to do something different. And basketball was, well, actually, you know, football was my first love, you know, kicking the ball football, right? As we know in Europe. But I actually had a bad injury playing that. And I always wanted to kind of use my size as a positive, you know, growing up as a kid. We didn't have much. And the only thing my father really left me with was height. He blessed me with height. So I just figured, like, I'm going to use this and not kind of make excuses for myself, right? And the situation I was born into. So sports was my outlet. So like I said, I played football, soccer to the American fans, but actually had a really bad injury. I almost lost my leg at 12 years old playing at lunchtime. So, you know, it was kind of a shock to me. And then after surgery, after finding out they almost took my leg, they told me I should never, ever play sports again on a competitive level. So obviously me ignoring that status, I tried to play football again and realized that I actually couldn't kick a ball anymore. My ankle felt like it was going to fall off. So I found basketball and...
Ist er eingefroren? Bin ich eingefroren? Ist er eingefroren? Warte, wir müssen mal kurz checken.
Behind, you know, what I wanted to do. So, you know, I set out this plan, going to get to college, play college basketball, dominate college basketball, get a shot at the NBA. If I get a shot at the NBA, I'm going to kick the doors down, right? Because I wanted to be the English guy, like born and raised in England to be the NBA player.
Was there anybody English before you, like somebody you looked up, like, hey, he's from here, he did that journey? Like, who was somebody who you idolized as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, the first guy I ever heard of was Nick George, a guy named Nicholas George. He's from Manchester, actually from Moss Side, which is one of the toughest neighborhoods in England, right? And from there, he was able to go to America and get a scholarship to play at VCU. So me, when I first stepped into high school at 11 years old, I'm being told by Graham Williams, who was our assistant head coach, but also the basketball coach of the local Manchester team. He was telling me I could do it. I didn't really believe him, but he told me I could do it, right? Then I found John Amici, who give thanks and praise to John Amici, because without John Amici, I wouldn't be here today, because he opened up a centre down the road in Manchester, which allowed me to go and actually have access to an indoor basketball court. So, I mean, even and if it wasn't for that location, I mean, I didn't even have bus fare to get there sometimes. Sometimes I had to walk home from the basketball centre at 10 o'clock at night, right? Walk 3-4 miles. So they gave me that assurance, like, oh, I can do this because it's been done before.
Yeah.
My issue was I ended up going to the CBA Academy in Gran Canaria, Spain, where I played for 2 years. There I shared times with guys from Holland, France, Lithuania, Macedonia, and we all had dreams of making it to play college basketball. Without that step, you know, make it to the NBA was very, very hard unless you was one of the top players in Europe, and we know that starts when you're probably like 12 or 13 years old. You know, I started basketball at 14. So I played at the CBA Academy for 2 years, ended up getting a scholarship to play Division I basketball. Now, when I get to college, I completely threw it away, right? Just wasn't focused. I was partying a lot. I was drinking a lot. We were terrible, right? And we had a lot of talent.
I just want to know real quick. At that point, you were about 18, 19?
I was about 19 years old when I got to college.
And what was your size? Because everybody in the comments is asking, how big is this guy? We see your face right now, but just so they got some understanding what a man you are.
When I was playing basketball, I was about 6'6". I would always start the season about 300 pounds, right? And
so
then
that's what is it in centimeters and kilos? Like,
so that's about 2 meters. I'm about 2 meters. I would say kilos, 300 pounds in kilos. What's that? Like
127.
Yeah, 120 something. Yeah, 127 something. But then I would always drop down to 260, which is about 100 kilos or whatever, because of just all the running, right? So I was already big, but now when I dropped the weight, I could jump out the gym. Yeah. So I was just a freak athlete. So, got a scholarship and I get to college. And when I get to college now, because we're losing and I had to redshirt because of, dropping history when I was 15 years old, came back to bite me when I'm looking for eligibility. So now I have to sit out a year. The year I sat out, we won one game. We were 1-29. We were tied for the worst team in college basketball, Division I. Maybe all divisions, right? And, but we had a super talented team, and we had a class of 6 freshmen. And
what state was this in?
This was in New York. School named Marist College, upstate New York. A place called Poughkeepsie. It's actually where Rudy Gobert's dad actually played basketball, Rick Smith. So they've had a history of international players, but I didn't feel that when I got there, right? It was like this new guy who came in from Calipari, Memphis, and he was looking past us all. So what I ended up doing is being weak-minded. I actually ended up being a victim of the circumstance, right? Instead of me saying, hey, let me work on my game. Let me stay in the gym extra. Let me make sure I'm in the weight room. Like, I just kind of was like, I give up. And I was drinking, I was partying, I was running around campus, right? Just doing everything but focusing on my basketball skill.
Yeah.
So after I played my redshirt freshman year, I just felt like I need to make a change. So it was either go back to Europe, start in the lower leagues, maybe start in the BBL, which is the British Basketball League. I know the Germans have a BBL too. Or maybe going and then maybe the lower leagues around Europe and working my way up. Right before I was getting ready to make that decision, I always remembered, I was like, all the Americans who used to play for Manchester Magic used to say, hey, when you get to the States, they're going to put you in pads, they're going to put you in helmets, you're going to play football. And I was always like, oh, no, I was the guy who was like, oh, rugby's way better, and all that stuff.
So at that point, you really didn't play much American football.
Bro, I knew nothing about it, right? I played Madden a couple of times and didn't understand what was going on in Madden, right? I actually went to a Florida State game, ironically, in 2010, because my best friend Rob Johnson, his younger brother Reginald Johnson, who is now my agent, one of the top agents at CAA, was down at Florida State as a student. So we kind of went as a summer trip.
Hey, you know what about that game? My first my first Florida State game, 2010. I had my first quarterback sack. I just
Oh, you did?
Yeah, against Christian Ponder. But
Right. That was the season I went down there, right? And so all the students are like, "Are you a recruit?" And I'm like, "Oh no, they don't know. I'm getting ready for go play my basketball season." So
yeah,
after that season, I remember that kind of running in my head. So I actually called my coach from Europe and I said, "Hey man, I'm not coming back to Maris next year." So he was kind of like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" He was you can't go back to the hood. You can't do that because there's nothing there for you. I knew there was nothing there for me, but the reality of things was there's not really that many options. So I told him I want to try American football. Before I leave, it was my dream to be in America as a kid. I've got this scholarship. I've got this visa, which is, for being a student. I want to make the most of this. I want to say, at least I gave it a shot. And if I wasn't good, I was done. And I set out a plan with my now agent, Reggie Johnson. And I said, in 2 years' time, if I'm not in the NFL in 2 years, I'm going home. I don't care if I was a starter. I don't care if I was a backup. If I wasn't an NFL-ready guy, I was going back to Europe because I had my young daughter at the time. She was probably 2 years old.
Menelik, hold on. The chat, I'm sorry. The chat said just slow it down just a little bit.
I'm sorry. I know I forgot the language barrier. That's my fault.
It's just like, we know it's exciting, but they'll be like, wait, hold on. No,
yeah. My fault. Sorry, all the guys listening. Let me slow down. So, after making that decision to go play football, I obviously told my basketball coach I wasn't coming back. His exact words was, "Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to Manchester?" And I told him, no matter what I'm going to do, I'm going to be just fine. So from there, my coach got me a plane ticket to San Diego to go stay with one of his best friends, who is actually the winningest coach in San Diego County basketball history. So for my whole spring, I was just cleaning carpets, moving furniture. I didn't cut my hair, didn't have a shave. I got back to the roots. When I got off that plane in America, I arrived with one bag: basketball trainers, 2 pairs of shorts, a couple t-shirts, and some socks. In the 2 years I spent at my first college, I had a little chain. It was fake, right? Had a little fake watch, had some clothes, had some jeans, right? And so I threw it all away and I took one bag and I went to California. And I said, this is going to work, right? So we kind of walked to 2 junior colleges, Palomar. When I walked in there, they just wanted to sign me straight away. I was like, okay, let me see what else is out there. I walked into Saddleback Junior College in Mission Viejo. The first person I see is Kyle Long. Kyle Long coming outside.
So Kyle Long, for those who don't know Kyle Long, but everybody should know Kyle Long, obviously one of the best guards in Chicago Bear history. And I was in Chicago for training camp, and great guy. So keep going.
Yeah, so I'm walking in, I see this guy coming out of our office, right? So we get to talking, and then the coaches come out and we're all having a great conversation. And it just felt comfortable. It felt like a place where I could really get better and then really be receptive. And not just look at me as a body, but look at me as, hey, we could do something with you, right? So from there, I walked on at the junior college, right? And I missed the whole of spring, so I walked in fall. Actually, right before I went to junior college, I actually went to Exos, which is down in San Diego, which is one of the big training centers, just to kind of clock my 40 time, see my strength, see my mobility, see if I physically have the tools to play football. Well, at the time, I was about 298 pounds. I ran a 4.72 and a 4.68. Okay. 2-point stance.
That's absurd because, and Bjorn mentioned it earlier, like you really one of those freak athletes because listen, I'm gonna say it in German real quick. Der Typ ist so eine Maschine, der wog 125 Kilo und ist eine 4,68 gelaufen aus dem Zweipunktstand. Ich in meinen besten Zeiten, ich bin genauso schnell gelaufen und ich war 15 Kilo leichter. Björn ist noch nie so schnell in seinem Leben gelaufen, in seinem ganzen Leben. Also I just said Björn never ran that fast, no matter weight. So it's just, you could tell this guy was just, when he was in the belly of his mom, God said, you are going to be a 4 machiner. So Keep going.
And, you know, and just to harp on that, you know, I didn't really realize how athletic I was. It was all mental, right? I was a big guy playing basketball, but I never told myself, hey, you're 300 pounds. I just thought of, I would watch the guards and say, you got to move like them. You got to run like them. You are at a disadvantage being heavy. So you have to train your mind to not feel heavy, to feel as athletic as you possibly can. So I used to run with the point guards. I used to try and run with the shooting guards. I wanted to be different, right? So when it translated to football, it kind of like everything I went through in my life mentally prepared me for this opportunity to make it to the NFL. So fast forward, right? I get to junior college. So I'd say, hey, I want to play defense. Funny story, I wanted to be a defensive end. They was my favorite guys to watch. So when you was in the NFL, I used to always watch your rushes, bro. And they were dangerous. One thing I always loved about you was your get-off. You always had a mean get-off, and you always put tackles in a state of panic, right? And as a tackle, you're harped on constant, you know, repetition, right? Repetition. Be so repetitious that the defender has to come into your world, not you enter their world, right? And one thing you did really well is force tackles to, it's like no matter how your technique can look good in the first two pass sets, but eventually this constant pressure is going to make you mess up. And once you mess up, it's a wrap, right? And that's what I loved about you, bro. You were persistent, like scary. I remember watching you at Florida State, but we'll get to that. Right. So yeah, so I get to junior college. First day, I told them I want to play defense. I hated quarterbacks at the time. At Marist, we had two quarterbacks, a guy named Gentili, who I really hated. And if he ever sees this, he'll probably hit me up. But I didn't like him. He kind of had this little attitude. I was like, man, I would love to pull your helmet off your head. You know what I mean? And that was my mindset, right? So my first day, I go to this junior college, and they're funny enough, they run this weird scheme. It's like a 3-5, like 4. And really all they wanted the defensive ends to just run up field. And actually, the year before, Kyle Long had played defensive end and didn't record much tackles and sacks just because of the scheme. So I went out the first day and they told me that. They said, hey, man, look, I know you got 1 year, but you might not want to play defensive end. So they put me at nose tackle. So, you know, first day we're out there, we're just doing pursuit drills, you know, running around cones and sprinting off, you know, 30 yards up the field and coming back. And I have no clue what I'm doing. You got to understand, I didn't know about a stance. I didn't even know how to put the pads on, the girdle. I didn't know what a girdle was. So here's me my first day. I'm just running around. So I'm asking other guys on the defense, like, hey, am I doing this right? And they're so focused on, you know, making the team and showing coach that they're a style. They don't want to help me. So, you know, a couple guys, I think Brian Johnson and another guy, they used to, you know, try and give me a little pointers like, yeah, you're doing all right. You're doing okay. So at the end of that first day, me understanding that I only have 1 year, because it's all I could afford to be at junior college, right? But I could graduate. So I said, I got 1 year. So there's a lot of pressure on me. You got to make this happen now. So after walking off the practice field the first day, Kyle Long's walking off. So he asked me, hey, how was it? I said, bro, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You know? I'm sorry, can I swear on this?
Yeah,
okay. So I'm like, I don't know.
You know, Germans, if you swear, it's okay.
It's like the English, right? It's kind of like the English, yeah.
Right. Not like America where you beep everything.
Right. So I say, hey, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So he's like, hey, come on offense. It's easier. So after that, the next day, I'll go to one of the coaches, head coach, say, hey, coach, can I try offense? And he's an offensive-minded guy. So he's like, oh, yeah, sure. The more big guys over here, the better, right? And we had a really good offensive line. Kyle Long played left tackle. We had a guy named Alex Dole who was a monster at left guard. We had big boy. Oh, what's his name? Sweet guy. I forgot his name. Sorry, forgive me. My boy Josh Chanahero played a right guard. And at the time, I got him now with Boots goal. He was a really good offensive lineman, great run blocker, but he struggled a bit in pass pro and he was very young. So the first day I got an offensive line, Kyle Long comes to me and he says, listen, just envision the quarterback as the basket. Don't let him get to the basket. So for me, pass pro clicked straight away. It was like, okay, cool. I'm used to guarding point guards at 265 pounds, at 270 pounds, I could guard a point guard. So guarding a guy who's 260, 70, 80 pounds, and now I can use my hands. Oh, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. Like, so pass pro, I got like this. It was run blocking I struggled with, right? The leverage, getting your footwork down, staying down all the time. I was just diesel stronger, didn't know what I was doing. I would just grab guys. And I remember one time we had a pass play and I actually run blocked the defensive end all the way up the field. You know what I mean? So my coach always talks about it all the time. But what I did and what allowed me to accelerate my learning, I mean, I was starting after the second game.
Yeah.
And what allowed that was when I walked onto that field, I told myself, and when I made that decision to play football, I said, you know nothing about this sport. So when you walk out here, treat it like that. Whenever a coach tells you something, treat it like gold.
Hold on. I'm gonna translate a little bit for a couple guys who, 2-3 sentences behind.
Ja.
Also er hat wirklich keine Ahnung vom Football gehabt. Es war alles relativ. Er war einfach draußen, weißt du, geht einfach raus, 2 Meter groß, dicke Arme und sagt, wen muss ich kaputt machen? Er hat gesagt, was ihm geholfen hat, ist vom Basketball einfach die Technik beim Pass-Setten. Beim Basketball hast du ja auch immer die Beine unter dir, du bist in deinen Knien. Aber gesagt, was schwer für ihn war Run-Blocking, weil das ist eine ganz andere Geschichte. Du hast dein Gewicht über deinem Körper und ich kann auch sagen, als ich gegen ihn gespielt habe, das war einer der Sachen, wo ich wusste, ich konnte ihn besiegen, weil er so aggressiv ist, dass ich ihn vielleicht austricksen konnte an vorbei. I just mentioned one of the few things, I would never take you as a defensive end one-on-one because you would just demolish me. Like I said, the only time I did have a chance, if you over-aggressively attacked me, I kind of just really quick go by.
I hate that move.
I can, as a basketball player, I can see why. Obviously, you just want to finish the rep as quick as possible.
Yes.
And so then I use the only thing that you would give me, and that's your aggressiveness.
Right, yeah. No, absolutely. So football, it kind of, when I say it came easy, here's the key things. And obviously, I played the rest of the season as a starting right tackle, right? Gave up 1 sack, I believe, and it was a muddy game. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I actually sat and slipped in the mud, and the guy ran around me, and it was the only sack I ever gave up in junior college. But what really helped me learn the game really, really fast was, like I said, understanding I know nothing about this game, right? Then dedicating everything to, understanding why I fell out of love with basketball, because I allowed someone to take that passion away from me. Yeah. And when I switched to football, I said, I'll never allow anyone to do that ever again. Even if I got a bad team, bad coach, I am going to be in control of my destiny. I will make this work. So, I would, practice every day. I would watch my film. I was always at class. I gave up drinking. I gave up weed.
Yep.
I gave up women. For 2 years, I told myself, you've got to be disciplined. These are the things that can land you in trouble. These are the things that can take time and mental space away from your development. So therefore, they're not important right now. What is important is 1,000% dedication to this game of football, right? So class, I would go to class. I was never late, always on time, sit in the front. Just little things you're supposed to do as a student athlete that we do, but you know how it is. Like, we might skip a little class here, we might be late. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm talking about.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy to hear? Because everybody we had on the show so far, everybody had that one moment where they told themselves, man, I'm going to do everything right.
Yes.
It's like, call it a wake-up call, call it a epiphany, whatever it is. It's just like, hey, from now on. And I remember when I used to talk to Bjorn, and I know you're about to talk a little bit about your time at Florida State with Bjorn, but me and Bjorn used to be on the phone, and he was saying, listen, we're not at college for a long time, but the few time I have at college, I'm just going to do everything right.
Right.
So, that's your moment.
And Kasim, isn't it amazing when you just do that, what you can achieve, right? 3 European boys who said, you know what, like, I can go out here and kind of enjoy life with my teammates and have fun, but I'm here for a reason. Let me lock in on that reason. Let me give myself, it's so funny. When I was at junior college, right? After my 3rd, 4th game, I had colleges, who's this kid? I remember one day after class getting a call from the head coach. He said, hey, hurry back home. There's a coach here waiting to see you. Okay. So I walked back to my apartment. At the time, we had a guy named Lorenzo Preston who actually we found out was homeless, someone had seen him sleeping behind a trash can. So we had a 2-bedroom. There was 2 of us to each room. We had a little space in the living room. We set him up a place in the living room. It was like, no, bro, there's no way you're going to sleep outside. So I get back, Lorenzo's sitting there. We used to have the, the giant TV with the big back, right? With all the ass, the TV with the ass, the big ones.
Yeah.
We had one of them, and we had I think we had like a 64 or something. And I walk in, and Lorenzo's sitting there playing video games. And I look to the right, it's bloody Stoops. It's Coach Stoops from Oklahoma, and like the tight ends coach, right? Yeah. And it's like they're sitting there watching him play video games. I don't know who these guys are.
Right.
I just see Oklahoma, so I'm sit down and they're like, coach, the tight end coach that came to see me earlier in the week.
It'd be funny because you just see the college coaches. You don't know who they are. You never see them, but they be having their hat on,
right,
and the college logo,
right, right. You're like, huh,
hold on, coach.
Right. So he's having a conversation, and Stoops, I guess the tight end coach must have loved the conversation we had, and he was like, "Hey, Coach Stoops, we need this guy." So Coach Stoops comes in and he's like, "We want to officially offer you a scholarship to Oklahoma." And I'm sitting there like, okay, what do I say? Yes? Do I say, I just kind of was like, "Oh, thanks, coach. I appreciate it." And I think they kind of expected me to be like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's great." I didn't know who he was. And at the same time, I didn't really understand my value. I just knew coaches went from place to place, throwing scholarships at everyone. The ones who pick to come, they come. And the ones that don't, they don't. And, their program kind of continues on. I didn't know it was like, hey, there's a big moment. So when my head coach talks to me later on, he's like, "Oh, did you see who was at the house?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, coach, it was the Oklahoma guys." He was like, "That's it? You know who that was?" And I was like, "Nah, who is it?" He said, he just started laughing. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "That's Coach Stoops." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know who he was.
Like, but isn't it a good thing though that you still grounded, because you're from the UK, you don't have the same understanding. Like when people told me, "Hey, you want to go to Boston College?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't really know what Boston College is." And people are like, "Bro, what?
Are you kidding me?" Right? Because they grew up in it and they seen it on TV, and we're just coming in like, "Yo, I just want to play football. I want to go somewhere where I can play football." So, so after having we had an incredible year. We set a bunch of records, right? You had Kyle Long at left tackle, me at right tackle. Defensive ends were in trouble. I'm talking about they were getting beat up on both sides. I'll tell you a crazy quick story about Kyle Long. We were playing Mount Sac, who were, where guys like Bruce Irvin went to. They've had a lot of NFL players go there, and they were the best in the league at the time. And so we go there to play them. We got an opportunity to win, to become #1 in the country. So we're going. They had this pass rushing was a beast, Samoan guy. Him and Kyle were going at it, man, and one play. So Kyle was people don't understand. Kyle Long was body slamming people at junior college.
Kyle is an asshole. I mean, in the best positive way.
In the best football way.
Kyle Long in der NFL, egal wo, nimmt die Jungs, hebt sie so und schmeißt sie auf den Boden, als wären es Wasserbälle, Wasserballons. Right. So, like, this man just picks up anyone and just throws you to the ground.
Grown man.
And just looks at you like. And he's the only man who's been looking 50 for 20 years.
Hair's been going since junior college, bro. He's lost his hair way back. But I remember my first game, actually, I got in the second half versus Pasadena, I believe. And I remember, like, I thought fighting was part of it. So my first game, I go out there, I block a guy, and he's trying to start fighting. We actually start fighting. He starts gang banging on me and all this shit. And I told him, I was like, "Bro, I don't understand. I don't care about your gang. They're not on the field with you right now." You know what I'm saying? And coach ended up telling me, like, "Hey, man, if you ever fight here again, you'll never play for me." So I kind of learned to all right, let me do it within the play. Kyle, on the other hand, he got the free reign because coach couldn't tell him shit, right? Plus, Kyle came with some football experience too, so he just kind of came with the attitude. But, we had, like I said, we had a great year. So now it's come to picking colleges. So I took a couple of visits, right? A couple of random ones. If you look at my visit history, it was kind of random, right? I just wanted to see different places. Sarkeesian at Washington, my online coach and Sarkeesian were good friends, so I went there for him, right? Noticed that there was lacking a bit of leadership within the players, not the coaches, but within the players. So it kind of turned me off. Then I went to Rutgers. I kind of took the Rutgers trip because it was kind of like back in the Northeast, so I kind of want to go there because a lot of people at Marist, when they found out I was going to play football, kind of shitted on me. Yeah. This guy actually wrote an article making fun of me, saying that I didn't block any kicks because I was on the field goal unit my first 2 games. Mm-hmm. So Rutgers was kind of like that visit to kind of let the Northeast know that, like, hey, man, I'm a fucking big deal now. You know what I mean? And
I'm gonna kind of translate the like what it means, what you did. So junior college is so wie dritte Bundesliga, okay? Die sind nur da, um zu zeigen, was sie drauf haben. Und auf einmal, er ist so gut. Rutgers kommt, sagt, ey, komm mal vorbei. Und auf einmal jetzt in der Bundesliga wollen ihn alle haben. Und er war echt nur ein kleiner ein großer englischer Junge. I said he was just a little British guy, but big British guy. Und es ist big-time Colleges.
Yeah.
Sehen das Talent, das er hat und wollen ihn natürlich holen.
Yeah, so, you know, I actually only took 4 visits out of my 5. So after that, after Rutgers, I took an Auburn trip. Now, Auburn was my best visit, right? It was like, I felt comfortable. I love the South, right? I love the Southern hospitality. It's SEC football, right? But there was a few things that kind of turned me off about Auburn. The scholarship packages were insane. I mean, these players are making close to $4,000 a month in scholarship money. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, they were making like $3,600 a month. They had 2 separate scholarship packages. And here's why I'm kind of assumed they just won a national championship. I'm sure boosters were throwing money here and there. So they wanted to kind of like take care of the players. I mean, I know 2 offensive linemen, they had 4, like one of them had 2 cars on campus, right? They lived in a 4-bedroom with 2 of them. They had everything. When you walked into their apartment, they had everything you want. I was like, wow, this is kind of a bit much. I can tell guys are a bit comfortable here, right? And
yeah.
You know, they had the beautiful women, right, obviously, down there. And at the time, obviously, I said, you know what, like, these are the things I want to stay away from. Ironically, I went to Florida State, which is probably
I was going to say, wait, you telling me this, and you went to Florida State?
Right. The most beautiful women, you know, just walking around. I'll tell you some stories about them girls, but, you know, but I was in a disciplined path.
How pretty he was.
Right. Like, so, you know, I'm on a disciplined path. So I felt too comfortable at Auburn. You know, I walked, you know, they take me to one of their apartments one day and I walk in. These guys are rolling dice for like $100 a roll. I'm like, wow.
Jesus.
So after that visit, I really loved Auburn, right? So then I go Florida State. Florida State is actually my worst visit. So they like, you know, they're taking me this. Number one, they lied to me because I wanted to do education. Right, so they sat me down with the education department at this luncheon, told me how great their education department is. Ironically, when I arrived on campus and they asked me what I want to do, I said education. They said, "Oh, well, you can't because it conflicts with your schedule." I was like, "How dare you lie to me on my visit?"
Yeah,
right.
Let them know.
But it was too late by then, right? So I was just kind of like, throw me in anything. But they did that. So then another night they were like, "Hey, let's go out." I don't want to go out. At this time, I'm 2021, I'm like, I don't want to go out. I don't care for the nightlife. I'm not coming to college to sample the nightlife. I'm coming to play football and make it to the NFL. So they ended up dragging me out. So first of all, we're standing in a line. Carlos Williams at the time, I didn't realize he was like an All-American high school player. He had just finished his freshman year, didn't play much. But he literally walks past us all. And, you know, on this visit, you're talking about Jameis Winston, Mario Edwards, who was the #1 player in the country, Ronald Darby, Marvin Bracey, 2 Olympic sprinters, under 18 sprinters, Chris Kasha, Reggie Northrup, everyone.
They were all on the visit with you?
All on the visit. PJ Williams.
Yeah.
Mate, I mean, I'm talking about, this was a loaded class. So, you know, Carlos Williams walks by talking about, hey, none of you guys come here gonna play. None of y'all gonna play when y'all get here. So I'm getting ready to go up and choke him up. But my boy, agent Reggie, at the time, is sitting there like, yo, just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah.
So we waiting outside this club for like 40 minutes. So I'm like, I want to leave now. So right as I'm getting ready to leave, we get in. So I need to pee. So first thing first, I think Brian Stark was my guy on my visit. Shout out to Brian Stark. I was like, bro, I got to go to the bathroom. So he's like, all right, cool. So we kind of like formed this trail line and we're walking through this club, right? Club strobe lights going. People are, you know, stopping and staring because they're seeing us all, the football players walking. So as we walk into the bathroom, I see out my peripheral someone kind of weaving through the crowd. And I said to myself, we're going to intercept. I know it. Me and this guy are going to meet. Literally meet. And me and this guy meet and I bump him. And mind you, I'm kind of walking kind of fast to get to the bathroom. So I bump him, right? So he turns around and the music's going, I can't hear what he's saying, but you can tell when a guy is kind of agitated. Plus he's drunk, right? So he's looking at me and he's talking and I'm like, what? So I shove him and he falls into some girls and he's on the floor. And you know that rush feeling when they're trying to get up real fast? And I'm like, oh, here we go. Bro, as soon as he stood on his feet, I grabbed him by his neck and lifted him off the ground and was choking the life out of him. The bouncers came running over, grabbed him, threw him out. But it's not even registering to me. I'm just like, yo, I just got to piss. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, get out my face. I want to pee. So I go straight, after that's done, I go straight to the bathroom. I'm peeing and I turn around and all the guys are kind of looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, I'm like, all right. So we stay. So the next day, funny story, I go into the old line room to just kind of observe. And Rick Trickett's sitting there. And Rick Trickett is a legend. Yeah. Tiny ex-Marine. I'm sure you probably heard stories about Trickett. He was absolutely nutcase, but I loved him to death. So he says, so he's watching film. He said, oh, by the way, that big guy in the back, that's Menelik Watson. He's our recruit. He's like, I won't fuck with him if I was you.
Hey, you was in the pubs in England. I know how.
Hey, I grew up scrapping. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to fight. Yeah, like, I'm ready to fight. That's how we moved back in England. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I left Florida State, that visit, it was kind of like up in the air. I had heard Coach Trickett was a hard coach. I remember the Auburn coach was kind of bad-mouthing. Even some people tried to say racist stuff about Rick Trickett.
Yeah.
And we had a really good conversation. When it was kind of coming down to, like, where are you going to go? He actually came out to see me in California. And he just told me, he was like, listen, I want to coach you. He's like, I want you. He's like, I don't need you, but I want you bad. And he said, I'm going to coach you hard. And he said, but just promise one thing. He's like, if I hit you, don't fucking hit me back. And when he said that, I understood his passion. I understood why he coaches so hard, because he demands perfection and he's not telling you anything wrong. So this is what I've learned over time. People listen to the delivery of the message sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I fucked up and you're like, hey, Menelik, you fuck up. Why are you fucking doing this? Why? It's like, I can get mad at you and say, don't talk to me like that. But if I'm fucking up, I have to be honest with myself. There's a point where you got to sit down and be like, you know what? I'm not doing this shit right. And I can't be mad at Kasim.
Isn't that crazy that it takes some maturity? Because I know I've seen it a lot of times, even on TV, but the way coaches on game day, right? They fucking go crazy. They be like, right. What the fuck? What are you doing? Like, and people are like, oh my gosh, that is so mean.
Right.
But I remember, I forgot who it was, but he was just like, listen, this man sacrificed time with his family. He puts all his passion, energy in. He believes in me, and he sees me do a mistake. Right. So obviously, I cannot get mad at the man for just passionately telling me that.
It's like Kasim, you got the C gap, and you end up in the B gap.
Yeah,
I fucked up. That's me. So it's not about how he delivers it. It's you got to listen to the message and be accountable. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is, so now I'm at Florida State, and I actually chose.
What year was this? What year was this?
This is 2011.
That was Bjorn's sophomore year, right?
No. 2012, actually. I got it 2012.
That was Bjorn's junior year.
Junior year. So yes. Bjorn. So let's talk about Bjorn.
Let's talk about Bjorn.
This guy was the scariest edge player I've ever played against. Hands down. I'm going to jump forward to his NFL career really fast.
Yeah.
I was absolutely disgusted at the Indianapolis Colts and what they did. And this is a big problem with the NFL, is scouting and drafting. Why would you take a guy who is an All-American left end, 3-point stance monster? You understand he had some knee issues, right, from college. But when Bjorn's knee issues were well documented, right? And I used to talk to Bjorn a lot of times about how he was feeling. And sometimes people don't understand. Bjorn was in pain a lot of the times. He played through a lot of pain. Mm-hmm. And even so, this man was a monster. I'd never seen anything like it. Like, bro, anything like it. Even to this day, right? And what infuriated me about his NFL journey was the fact that the Colts decided to steal him in the draft because he was one of the best defensive ends in America that people don't realize. Mm-hmm. Put him on the other side of the line of scrimmage and put him in a 2-point stance.
Right.
First round pick. How many times did they put the film on and say, oh, I think he can stand up. Look at him over the left tackle. It's kind of like Von Miller. It's like Von Miller is over the right tackle. Von Miller, it's like I even spoke to Von when I played here at Broncos. And he was like, Menelik, rushing over the right tackle is too easy. because he knew his points. He knew where he could plant. He knew the boundaries he could push his body. So what Von Miller did after abusing right tackles his whole career, he just said, you know what? I want to get better over the left tackle. And that's why you see a lot of the times Von Miller over the left tackle. Exclusively early in his career, he was always over the right tackle because it was his bread and butter. But as a multi-million-dollar organization, you say, hey, let's draft this guy in the first round and let's completely put him in a position that we've never seen him before in. And that's why you see a guy like the decline of his body, because now not only is he at a higher level, he's having to retrain his body, which he's been training for 4 years to perfect his get off, his bend, his rush moves, right? And he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And then you put him on the other side, which was absolute asinine. So to this day, like, I'm big on these NFL teams misdrafting and misscouting guys. It's really, really appalling how many careers they probably ruined just because of, I don't know what to call it. I just don't understand how a football mind can do that. So back to Florida State.
I remember I used to watch him just drop. I'm like, my guy.
What are they doing?
This is not.
Put him over the right tackle and let him go to work.
It's like you got prime Wayne Rooney, right? And he's like, you know what? You should be a goalkeeper. Like, it's not for you.
You put him at center mid.
Wat der stehen geblieben? Oder Menelik, you froze. Hey, der Typ, ich sag's euch.
Oh.
Ehrenmann. Oh, you back. Okay. Boom.
Primary Rooney, like putting him at midfield.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? This guy's a goal scorer.
Yes.
So let's back up to Florida State. So we'll get to Florida State, right? And I missed the whole spring. Mind you, I just played 10 games of football. So I get to Florida State. I got to sit out because of the eligibility stuff from way back, right? From back when I was 15 in England. So they wouldn't clear me to do any of the spring workouts. I missed spring ball, but I didn't do spring workouts. I did maybe a week and a half of spring workouts, and then the fall hit. So at the time, a guy named Daniel Glauser was the junior college #1 player in the country, right? And he had been there.
Crazy to me to hear at this point, you've really been playing only one real season of football, and now out of nowhere you're at one of the most prestigious, best colleges in the United States of America.
Yes,
and you got a shot to be one of the best on the team.
Took a lot of discipline. You got to understand. At this point, I've not sipped no liquor. I think I smoked weed one time when I was in junior college because I was in California, and I was like, I got to try California weed, right? So I tried it once, and I didn't fornicate or mess with any girls. I didn't even talk to any girls. I actually kind of talked to one girl who ended up being my girlfriend, obviously, once I got drafted, but she was in one of my classes, right? But, I was really disciplined, and my junior college team used to say, hey, how you got all these scholarships? I said, you know what? Because after a game, while you guys are running around trying to find the next party or where to go after we win, or after a practice, you're trying to go smoke some weed or find some girls to go hang with, I go straight to my crib and I watch my film back. Yeah. And then on a Saturday or Sunday after our games, I would take a soccer ball to the field just to run off all the aches and pains. I would, by myself, just run around, kicking around the soccer ball just to keep my feet and ankles loose. You know what I mean?
So, because what I used to do, after practice, there used to be a couple guys who just played like soccer, just for fun. It was not the soccer team. And I'm like, yo, can I play with you? And quite honestly, it was really my German side coming back. Because, we were kids. We put 2 shoes right next to each other.
Right.
That's the goal. And then we just play a little soccer. So
exactly. And funny story, I actually won intramurals soccer right before I left my first school. Played in the final game and we won. But, so I used to do these little things to give me the edge, right? Every Sunday, I used to take the internet from the neighbors, right? We used to steal their internet. And I used to stream NFL games and just watch offensive linemen. And I would, you can tell when a guy's doing well, when he's under control, and when a guy's not. So I used to mirror exactly what I saw. So to the outside world, people were like, how's this guy getting better? It was 100% dedication to the game. There was nothing else. It wasn't like there's a lot of guys who are God-given ability. There's a lot of guys who are big and can run. There's a lot of guys who are big and can strong. It was all up here. And so when I get to Florida State, now obviously it's a level up, right? I got 2 All-American defensive ends, Brandon Jenkins and Bjorn Warner. Then you got Tank Carradine. You know of Tank, right? Tank was he was a 3rd round, 4th round pick that year when B-Jet went down, but he was a beast too. So that's actually how I got my starting spot. So we start camp. So Coach Trickett told me, so Daniel Glauser is from Switzerland.
Yeah.
So we had kind of like a little international team. There was me from England, Daniel Glauser, who was a tackle from Switzerland. The left guard, Josue Matias, was from Dominican Republic. Bjorn was from Germany, right? So we was like the international group, right? And
I used to laugh because I used to, when I watched film, Florida State.
Yeah.
I was 10 brothers on the field, and Bjorn was like the little vanilla drop. It was
the
crazy,
only white guy. There was a guy named Justin Bright who was another white. He was a safety, but you know, he had a lot. He was a beast too. But you know, you talk about LaMarcus Joyner, you know, PJ Washington, all these guys who are actually in the NFL. Our defensive 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string in 2012 actually all went to the NFL. Can you believe that? Our whole defense, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string. So, start of camp, Coach Trickett told me, "You're not going to play this year. We're just going to teach you the game of football. We're going to let Daniel Glauser play because he's a senior, and then you play your senior year." Our left tackle was actually Cam Irving, who played defensive tackle the year before. So they needed a tackle, so they ended up converting him. And he resisted at first, but so Coach Trickett gave him a left tackle job. So now the only availability spot was the right tackle spot. So it was going to be Daniel's, right? So I remember during like that beginning of fall camp, we used to have these walkthroughs in the morning. Tricky used to run about 5 o'clock in the morning. So we used to, our line used to go, and Brian Stark would call out a play and we would just step through. Like if it's a pass pro, just take 2 steps. If it's run block, take 2 steps forward, right? In the direction that the run is or whatever. And I remember specifically, and Daniel could attest to this because I was pissed off, right? Because it was, and Daniel had been there in the spring, so he kind of lived the luxuries of being a Florida State player, right? Going out in the spring, having fun, being a football player, having those accolades. I got there ready for work. So I remember speaking to him one morning because what used to happen is Trickett would talk and guys would be quiet. It'd be silent in there. And then after 20 minutes, Trickett would leave NCAA violation, right? I'm probably ratting him out a little bit, but he's retired now. But then he would leave after 20 minutes. So then it was just up to us. Once he left, I noticed that the whole line would just start dicking around. We had a bunch of young guys. Bobby Hart was a sophomore. Trey Jackson was a sophomore. Josue was a sophomore. Stark was a redshirt sophomore.
It's crazy how stacked you guys were. Because I remember, you know, back then I was at Boston College, obviously, and we played against you. Yeah. And I didn't know at the time. I was just like, Florida. It's just Florida State. Obviously, right. They are the talented guys, and the effort guys. But you know, my 2nd, 3rd, 4th year in the NFL, all those guys from Florida State, literally everybody played in the NFL. Und ist wieder eingefroren. Mal gucken, ob gleich zurückkommt. Ich sage, ihr wisst Bescheid, ich lese auch die Kommentare mit. Das heißt, wenn ihr ein bisschen Fragen habt oder etwas nicht so gut versteht, sagt Bescheid. Oh,
sorry.
It's cool. You got that Kasim internet. My internet used to be trash the last couple of weeks.
I'm going to have to move to the living room or something. Jeez.
But yeah, continue. We need to hear some more in detail Bjorn stories because he said, first of all, he texted me. He said he loves you. Yeah. And he wants you to tell that couch story.
The couch story?
When he was on his couch.
Oh, you talking about, no, the facility. Was that the facility?
When you stayed with him or something? That's what he said.
That was, oh yeah, it did. Oh, God. Wow, that's archives. I actually can't remember my first
day. You need to tell that story, bro.
Bro, I actually can't remember. I do remember staying there, though. I do remember staying there. We got to get him money.
But he was saying you stayed on his couch, and he used to walk in the apartment or whatnot, and there was just a big black, scary man on the couch.
Yeah, before I got my apartment, I was staying with Bjorn because they said, you know, in transfers or freshmen had to stay in this dorm.
Yeah.
Right. And one thing I asked Jimbo, I said, please don't put me in the dorm because I don't want to be around a freshman. Like, I'm too grown. I don't want to be around any of the antics. I want to be on my own. I want to kind of be in a space where I can concentrate. So they granted me that. So for a while, I didn't have a place. So I had to stay with Bjorn. But it was so comforting because Bjorn, like, you know, most guys kind of are a bit strange. You know how a football team is, especially like the Americans are a bit aggressive. They're a bit weird. They're a bit wild, right? They've been hitting
Yeah.
the heads off people since they were in pop water. So they are a bit tapped, right? They got a little, Beyond was so cool and calm. But the crazy thing was, once he put that helmet on, he was a beast. And he wouldn't talk, he would just work you. And then he'd get back, he always used to do this. He always used to do this and put his hands in his
Yeah,
helmet.
you always
Yeah.
does this. It's
You know what I
funny
mean?
though, because you know, obviously it would be interesting because you're a UK guy, and then
Yeah.
you have all these brothers from Florida, which supposedly the best athletes in the country,
Right.
and then you have Bjorn.
Beyond.
You know, like what I feel like just watching him from a mentality outside of football is just
Yeah.
that man is so different. But
Yeah.
then it's crazy because we all speak the same language. If you're
You're
good
right.
at football, okay, we speak the same
Right.
language.
Yeah, yeah. I used to always make fun of Beyond's he used to always talk about his shoulders because you know you have the shoulder cuts and he could never get him. And he was like, bro, I lift, I don't know what to do, man. But he was just Beyond was one of those guys, like when you put the film was very, very scary, right? Whenever you watched it, even like when you used to watch practice back, like I said, I was a third string, and I remember telling Daniel Glauser, like, you gotta take this thing serious, because I told him in a year, during these walkthroughs, it's not going to be me standing in front of you. It's going to be Jared Allen. It's going to be
Yeah.
Julius Peppers. And he used to be like, oh, Julius Peppers. And he used to make fun of it. And I was like, and that's when I said, you know what? This guy's not serious. I said, he's not serious. He don't realize how hungry I am. So now fall camp starts and I'm third string, like I said. So I'm watching Beyond go to work. Like Beyond's the best player by far. Like you can't run at his side. You know, you gotta have extra protection over there, right? In pass pro, he's relentless. What you saw on film was what you saw in practice. And a lot of coaches, even Coach Trickett, who, you know, kind of hated everybody, loved Beyond, right? Loved him. And I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. But yeah, so I remember training camp, Tank Carradine, how I got my starting spot was, I was like, I gotta make noise. I gotta let these people know I'm here.
Yeah.
And one thing about Florida State, our weak point was our offensive line. And I remember going there in the spring and Beyond, and Brandon Jenkins were destroying the defensive line. Timmy Jernigan, right?
Oh yeah, he's good.
Telvin Smith, Christian Jones, Vince Williams, right? They're just abusing them. I actually remember in the spring when I went on my visit, Jimbo was like, fuck it, we're going live. And I was like, damn. Kind of one of the reasons, like, I don't know if I want to go here. They're kind of crazy. But the offensive line was just giving it. So when I got there, I said, we're not going to be victims. We're not going to be the reason why we suck. You know what I mean? So I remember wanting to set a tone. So I remember we had one-on-one pass rush. Tank Carradine was an absolute monster. The year before, he actually got into a fight with Bobby Hart, and they said they had to stop him from going to the car to go get his gun, right? So people were naturally scared of Tank, and I just kind of like, listen, man, I don't fear no man, right? I don't care who he is. So we got in a one-on-one pass rush, and I just grabbed him and body slammed him. So as he was trying to like dip and bend, I grabbed his front of his pad, grabbed his shoulder, and just slammed him, and then walked back to the line of scrimmage, and everyone was like, did he just fucking slam Tank? So from there, I was like,
with the Uncle Phil. Just threw him
you know, I'm a grown ass man too, right? So I remember calling one of my boys back home, and he's like, yo, what's it like out there? I said, mate, these are boys. Like I'm on grown man time. You know what I mean? Like this is important. This is everything. So, you know, me and Beyond used to get such great work, and I test Beyond because I've worked with some great defensive ends, Beyond Warner, Khalil Mack, Von Miller, right? So these are like guys who I've gone to head with a lot of practices.
But I want people to understand, like, listen, like there's a reason why he puts his name in the same as the other guys, but injuries, bad teams, bad organizations.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it can just change everything about your career.
Everything.
Because,
I mean, listen, in 100% honesty, I 100% believe this, and I'll bet my house on it. If someone would have took Beyond and like the Bengals, like, you know, TJ Hawkinson, right? What's his name? Not Hawkinson, Hendrickson, the guy, the deep.
Yeah,
like,
Trey.
Yeah, people love him, right? For the Bengals.
Yeah.
He couldn't even hold Beyond's shoes. People don't understand how quick, powerful. Beyond was like 270.
Hey, that man.
Chunky.
I know that man was a big German potato, but that
Yeah,
boy was moving
fast. When you talk about elite hands, so I remember a funny story, right? So during the season, Bjorn and at the time Tank used to always look at like defensive ends around the league, country, and who's doing well. But then we was going up against Miami, so everyone knows Miami. You know Miami, Chantrell Henderson, right? The mountain that was Chantrell Henderson. 6'8", 2 meters,
Yeah.
5. 140 kilograms, you know what I mean? He's like, I was a big man in college. So I remember beyond and I was like, bro, like, what you gonna do with him? He was like, I don't know, bro. I'm gonna figure it out. Man, he was like, I just can't, after a couple of drives, I just can't let him touch me. Once he touches me, it's a wrap. But once I can get over that, beyond, like I said, the Colts were the worst thing that ever happened to him. And it was just kind of disheartening, like being his good friend and actually going against him every day. And if I didn't go to Florida State and go against a guy like that every day, I promise you, I wouldn't have been a second round pick. I promise you. People say, "Oh, well, who's the best defensive end you went against in college?" And it was like, Beyond Warner every day.
Yeah.
It was hell. Like I had to get better, otherwise he just abused me every day. You know what I mean?
I do. Man, there's one story. Is when I actually met you in person for the first time. Man, quite honestly, you need to come back on the show one more time to get
Yeah.
the NFL part of the story. But I do want to open it up for some questions and that the Zuschauer have the guys who are watching. We call them the Zuschauer. But one of my favorite stories was during the second round. I actually took a picture. So I think you anticipated to be a first round draft pick. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I was told, I actually didn't want to go to New York, and I was told I was going to be a first round pick.
Yeah.
And the Ravens, which is kind of like I've had a grudge for my whole kind of life, I didn't want hoopla. I didn't want everyone to get excited. I didn't care for the media. I just wanted to make a check so I can take care of my family, right? So
Yeah.
I remember coming out of college and Jimbo trying to tell me I was going to be a 7th round, 6th round pick, and I told him I didn't care. Because once I get in the league, I've still got to go and prove myself, right? A lot of people get that kind of confused. They think, oh, I was good in college, I'm going to be good in the pros. And it's not like that. We see guys from Kent State play, 15 years, and it's like, and the kid who went to Oklahoma doesn't even make it through rookie minicamp, right? So my agent at the time, who was Sports Trust, convinced me to go to New York, which was a big mistake. And the Ravens had said, hey, if you're there at 32, we're going to take you. And I think another team, I can't remember the team, said, I think it was like in the 20th, they were like, if you're there, we're going to take you. So draft night, I'm sitting in New York and I'm watching all these offensive linemen come off the board. That was the year that Eric Fisher came off first. Luke Jokel came off number 2. I worked out for the San Diego Chargers. They told me I wasn't athletic enough. They didn't like my hip movement and stuff. And then draft DJ Fluker. And I love Fluker. Fluker's my man. But I always said Fluker would be an all-pro guard. I wouldn't put Fluker at tackle. But they told me I wasn't athletic enough. So the draft is dwindling down and it gets to 32 and they take my Elam. So as soon as the draft gone, I'm out. Like I left.
And I want to, I was at the draft with Bjorn. Bjorn called me, Boston, New York, it's like an hour train ride. Yeah. He said, yo, Kasim, want to come to the draft? And then obviously I was with Bjorn. And then I ran into you too. And we played in 2012 against each other. Yeah. Like, I remember this big, scary dude. And then, you were just so, same as right now. You have so much energy and positivity to you. Yeah. And I remember after the first round was done and you wasn't drafted, I saw you just walk out quiet, mad. But I was just like, once I saw you the next day getting drafted in the second round, I was like, quite honestly, I think the hunger and like that feeling that gives you like that feeling of disappointment, even though it's an achievement. Yeah. But I was like, this guy is gonna come out even better than he ever was.
Bro, people don't understand. So after that happened, because my daughter was there, right? She had fell asleep. And it was also like my mom, like seeing the disappointment on my mom's face because she was excited and saw the pain that I went through not being drafted. And I think, like I said, I didn't care. First round, fourth round, I knew once I got to the NFL, I got to put my mark on the game, right? And so when I didn't get drafted, like that angered me. So when I left, I put my daughter to bed. you know, and it was sad because I had like a lot of friends, family and friends who actually came to the room, kind of console me, but kind of like say how proud of me they am because I hadn't spoke to anyone in 2 years. I kind of was on this hiatus. They just found out 2 years later, whoa, Menelik's getting ready to go play in the NFL. You know, I didn't speak to anybody in them 2 years. I kind of had no phone really like that. So I actually got changed and I ran about 15 blocks. So as I get to the hotel, I see people in the lobby. I go upstairs. I congratulate some of the guys. I go upstairs, put my daughter to bed. I get changed. I come down the lobby and now everyone's there, right? Everyone's kind of
And you
like
see
happy.
everybody's happy, you know, everybody got drafted. And it's just like, I know what you, because I wasn't drafted at all. And I see
Right.
all my friends get picked up
Yeah.
and have that joy. And I'm happy for them, but I'm like, man, it
Yep.
stings. Like, this is not me right now.
I just took off running. I just took off running. And I ran 15, maybe 20 blocks nonstop, just hawking. And I got near the Empire State Building and I just stopped and I sat down on the curb for about 5-10 minutes.
Mhm.
And then once I had kind of came to like, okay, you didn't go first round, it's fine. Then I ran back, you know, and then I kind of spoke with family. And then, you know, my agent was like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay for tomorrow? I was like, no, I'm going. I'm going. My family's all got to leave tomorrow. I'm going. And then I went back to Georgia, actually worked out. And me and my now agent, Reggie, we were getting a sandwich. We was at the sandwich shop getting a sandwich. And we actually got in the car and, you know, we actually spoke about it. And I said, yo, he's like, anyway, you don't want to go? I said, I don't want to go to California. But if I do, I want to go to San Diego.
Yeah.
Funny enough, getting this California area code, pick it up. Hi, it's Reggie McKenzie from the Oakland Raiders. I'm like,
Yeah.
so we get off the call. I hang up and I look at my boy Reg and I'm like, I guess I'm going to Oakland. You know, we just start laughing and it's like, all right, boom. Then my focus was on NFL. Like, it's go time. Like, no time to celebrate. Like, gotta get ready to go. You know what I mean? And actually had
a lot of people gotta understand, I'm gonna say it in German. So viele Leute denken halt, ey, jetzt kannst du dich freuen, du hast es erreicht. Aber ganz ehrlich, jetzt fängt wirklich der schwere Job an. I said, a lot of people think, hey, it's time to celebrate. No, this is the hardest part is just coming. That really, what you thought was hard so far was the easy part, because staying in the NFL
exactly
and making your name is so much harder. But I want to talk about your NFL journey another time. I'm gonna open up the questions, a couple questions for Menelik, but obviously, you know, you have so much energy. You are obviously, I can tell you will be a great mentor, coach. You know, you had injuries. We talk about that another time, but what are you doing right now? Like, could you imagine coaching? Could you imagine mentoring? And obviously, we have the European League of Football now, and a lot of guys ask too. If you could ever see yourself playing, coaching over here or in the States, what is it for you?
You know what? Honestly, that coaching is always something I've always wanted to do. I've been coaching since I was 13 years old. So the first basketball camp I went to, I was 13. That's later on that year, I actually coached my first camp. It was like 9 and 10-year-olds. I've always had a passion for coaching, and not just the stars, it's like everybody. And I remember a coach said to me one thing that stuck with me. He said, hey, Menelik, focus on the kids you think that can make the team, that can make the Manchester team. And I thought it was the most disgusting thing someone could ever tell me. Because as a coach, I believe you have one of the most important jobs in the world, because what you are a dream facilitator. A kid comes to you with a dream and says, hey, Kasim, I want to play in the NFL. It's now your job to kind of lay this map out, right? I use basketball as an easy example. A kid comes to you and he says, hey, coach, I want to make the NBA. Well, you're 5'10", you're 150 pounds. But this is how we're going to go about it. Now, oh, no, you're never going to make it. It's not going to happen. It's like, hey, if you're 5'10", you got to be the best 5'10" basketball player in the world. That is your mindset. That is what you have to strive for. So when you're tired or you don't want to, you got to understand, is this really what you want? Because I'm here to facilitate your dream. We got to get 1,000 shots. We've got to put in work. You've got to dedicate yourself to eating. You've got to dedicate to the game. I talk to kids all the time and I say, okay, if I was to tell you at 15 years old, in 3 years, you could be in the NBA or NFL. But You can't go party with your friends. You can't run around chase girls. You can't do all the cool shit. All you can do is play your sport constantly, focus on your school and stuff like that, the mandatory things that come with it. But in 3 years' time, if you do that for 3 years' time, you mean to say no PlayStation for 3 years, no parties for 3 years, but you can achieve all your dreams?
Right.
So that is the most beautiful thing. So yeah, coaching is definitely something I want to do. As far as, arbitrary things I want to do, I want to turn this game absolutely global. And I think the NFL is not doing a good enough job of taking the game global. I believe that they are very comfortable because their turnover and profit is incredible just based off the US market alone.
Ja. Uff. Energiesparmodus. Wenigstens hat er Energiesparmodus, weißt du, Return of the Energiesparmodus. Aber er kommt bestimmt in einer Sekunde wieder zurück. Aber ja, er hat komplett recht.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, you're back.
I'm back.
Okay.
All right,
there he is.
Let me change location.
Yeah. Okay.
So what we're seeing is, the game is, at the end of the day, they kind of have a success and a kind of blueprint to how this game is ran, right? And why would you kind of want to expand when you're obviously constantly turning over profit and making money? But here's the thing, NBA players are now making $250 million contracts, not by coincidence.
Yeah.
David Stern had a dream of taking the game global. Now, if we take the game global, you get more international players. The game is tuned in. The Super Bowl is not the most watched sport in the world. It might be the most watched in America, but kids in Taiwan and the Middle East aren't waking up in the middle of the night to check the Super Bowl. But the NBA is a different story. You got kids in China who are turning in. You know why they tune in? You know why the Raptors, the Rockets do a lot of things with China appreciation, because they had an international player who came in and changed the game. Now, us as international players, can we say how many times that the NFL has utilized us to expand this game of football? Look at the things you did in the NFL, right? Look at the things that some of these international guys, even guys before us, Vollmer, right? He's won Super Bowls with the Patriots. You didn't take that time to expand this game. So I think the future of football has to be expanding the game. And that, I think, is very important that, we do start getting camps, because there's guys all over the world that could easily play this game.
When I played, I played in the European League of Football. You probably saw on my Instagram, all that stuff. Yeah. And the guys that I've seen, I'm like, listen, man, if somebody would have given these guys a shot 2-3 years ago when there was 18, 19, they have the heart, they have the talent. There's no difference. The only difference is the lack of resources and support.
Yep.
And then it was just amazing. It was a kid from the UK. He's defensive end. He was great. A guy from France, linebacker, great. It's just sad because there's so many. They have a dream.
Yeah,
and they could achieve it with just the right people around
them. All right, and as us as ex-NFL players, there's only really so much we can do, right? In terms of getting junior colleges and places like that to take a look at these guys. But then it's like some guys can't afford to get that flight or play for tuition. Like I couldn't, by the grace of my coach from Spain, he actually paid for my classes at junior college.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So we all need assistance. But as more and more guys start getting into the league, I was just on a call the other day with the Minnesota Vikings owners, and they were mentioning the international series, but they don't have any strategic plan to kind of incorporate more learning and teaching and understanding of the game. So now that people aren't just showing up for a game 3 times a year and then walking away, at this point, it's just a spectacle. You go over, you make pounds, and you leave. So how big do you really want to expand this game of football? We're talking about, I had this kind of vision, and I thought, what if, Germans are always known for being big, strong, athletic men, right? If you just look at the German football team, right, you're just like, look at these guys when they stand out and they go against Spain. It's like, look at these guys, look at Müller, look at all these big boys. But that's no turn. So imagine them as the tight ends. right? You got like the sumo wrestlers. I think they'd make great offensive linemen, right?
Yeah.
The Samoans. Look at the Samoans and how they've kind of shaped their culture around this game of football. So the game definitely needs to be expanded, and I think it needs to give more opportunity for guys who, who don't have the opportunity to play Bundesliga or Premiership, right? The guys who aren't tall enough or coordinated enough to go and play basketball. This is sport called football, and you don't need to be the fastest in the world. You just gotta have an unbelievably competitive spirit to want to go out there and win a one-on-one matchup when your finger's broken, when your bones are hurting, when your muscles are tired. It's like, do you have something inside you that says, I'm going to keep going? And if you have that, then football is perfect. You can definitely make a career.
That's the beauty of this game, and you really said it perfectly. Is
Yeah.
football is not who's the biggest, it's not who's the
Yeah.
fastest. It's really football is who wants it more and who is willing
Yes.
to give a little bit more, man.
Yeah. Because you say, okay, Kasim Edebali picked Menelik Watson up and bull rushed him back to quarterback one time. It's like, yeah, that really happened. You know, really.
Yeah.
If you do the numbers, Menelik Watson's 330 pounds. Kasim, what are you like at the time of Blam? What was you 260, 270?
250.
250. There's no way you're supposed to be able to walk 80 pounds more of a man back, but the competitor in you is just, you understood that part of the game. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of guys don't really get to understand.
It's funny too, because most guys don't understand that I was a little guy. I was undersized technically, but people always say, man, you play bigger than you are. But it's just like, because I put all my heart in it. I wanted a little bit more.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. It was probably your second or third year in the league. It was when you were at Saints.
Yeah.
And I started putting on the film, bro. And I remember you from college. I remember because when I put on the film, I remember you had this huge mountain of a white guy. I never remember his name. You know what I'm talking about. He was like 6'8".
Yeah. Brian Mahalik.
Yeah, so Mahalik. So I remember watching him on film, and he played the majority of the snaps. I think it was a class older than you or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I was like, okay, he's big. So when I got out there and I bucketed him, but watching film, I used to notice you, and I was like, yo, who's this light-skinned guy? Who's this light-skinned? Because you had the wiggle back then, but like you said, you was a bit smaller, you know what I'm saying? So when you came out and you actually lined up against me, I just thought to myself, get your hands on this guy quick. You know what I mean? Get your hands on this, because you was the only one in the D-line with some wiggle.
Yeah.
So it's ironic that me seeing that in you and then you developing into the NFL player that you were. Like I said, I think I remember it was watching you, and I was like, yo, he is not the same guy from Boston College. He is not. I mean, one time, you can't remember who you was playing. You bull rushed this tackle so nasty.
Yeah.
So nasty. And I was like, man, he's found his tempo. You found his tempo. You found your tempo.
It's the little thing, because obviously physically I haven't gained anything that I didn't really get stronger. I didn't get faster, but I get smarter. And you understand the game, hey, use your quickness. And then make him think you do your quick stuff, and then you take everything you have and bully him. So obviously that was my setup. But could you ever imagine, because I know you live in Denver, Colorado right now.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, I mean, I don't know if Bjorn hit you up, coach for his team, but could you imagine go back to England, maybe London or whoever, and coach back home? Or
I wouldn't mind. I would like to go to an official setup, right? I would like to go to a place where there's a purpose behind it, in terms of like, hey, this is my thing. I get guys come in, they learn, they train, and they go to America to achieve their dreams. Right? I think we're ways away. The only foreseeable way I see us having a league back in Europe is if a couple countries got involved, to the point where we could have, big international games, right? So, you got one team in London, one team in Germany, maybe two teams in Germany, right? One in France, and it kind of became this kind of like international system where we had the younger farm system of that international team, where the kids were like okay, we go to a college, some of us stay and play, right? And then we get a lot of American imports, and we kind of like able to kind of create a farm system where we're just sending constant kids to America to colleges, because, America's kind of had the formula, but it's kind of like basketball. It's about time you kind of start expanding because there's different levels of athletes and mentalities that you can bring to the game of football that can really revolutionize it.
Yeah.
And not only revolutionize it, like I said, expand the brand, expand it. Have kids all over Europe talking about the NFL, talking about wanting to play America. And not only that, it gives them a chance to live in America. Like living in
Yep.
America was always my dream. So when I think about moving back to England, it's just like, England's a little small for me now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
My
It's
wife
like,
was just like, yo, what is going on? Why is it so small? And like, we lived in a house. I'm like, listen, because Germany used to like a 2-3 bedroom apartment,
right.
and we had a 3-bedroom house, and she's like,
this is small.
It's a little small over here.
Yeah, right. It's like they in America, it's like they're foreign to the concept of walking to the shop. You know what I mean? Like walking to the shop in Europe is like, it's just standard. It's like, but I live like maybe a mile and a half away from a Walmart. It's like, my brother was here one time and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Walmart, and he just took off walking, and I was like, you don't want to take one of the you don't want to take one of the cars? He was like, nah, I'm good. I just need to stretch my legs. I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, but I don't know, but like I said, there has to be some level of structure where I can come in and really kind of make changes and not just be like, hey, here's Menelik Watson. He's a former NFL player and he can teach you the game of football. It's like, there has to be a solid infrastructure with a plan, because I don't want kids to then turn to me and say, hey, I want to go to this, that, the fourth, I want to take it here, and me not really having the answers or the solution or help to be able to facilitate those dreams. And I think that starts with the NFL kind of taking more of an international initiative. But that's something that owners have to be comfortable with. It's like, hey, if I tell them you can spend 100 million, but in a couple of years you'll be making that tenfold, right? It's like, how bad do you really want it, or are you comfortable with the way things are now? And I think they're very, very comfortable.
The comments is funny. They say he related to Bjorn, because Bjorn, we call it a Laberlauch, which is when you're good, you can talk. You're good at talking. And Bjorn is also very good at talking.
Florida State education, baby.
Yeah. But one of the best things that happened to me last year, well, when you make something positive out of something negative, I hurt my ankle. Like the third game, something, and tore my ligament, couldn't play. And obviously, they want to bring me over, big show, yada, 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 and always put me in the spotlight. But quite honestly, first of all, it's fun because I know how much it means to a lot of people. But really, I personally love to shine that spotlight that's on me on the people around me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then give them a platform, give them the chance to show what they got. So it was great to see like all this publicity. Hey, Kasim Edebali here. And then I was like, yo, but Bombek over there, who's our other defensive end, he had 1 million sacks. Running back, receiver, we had tight end, we had great players. And then when I was hurt, and then just it wasn't even the coaching, when I was at practice just to coach these guys up. It was really helping young men, the next generation, to become something that they weren't before. Give it whatever spark it is, whatever motivation is, just like, yo, like y'all good enough. Y'all just got to find that little 1% that sets you apart, and then get yourself a chance.
Man, isn't that a beautiful feeling? Like, even last year, I actually coached basketball at prep school. One of my old college teammates, he's a coach now. He's actually gone to Illinois State as an head assistant. But we coached together at prep school, right? And it was always our dream. We had coached together at basketball camps when we was at Marist, but we won a national championship.
Yeah.
For prep school in the whole of America, and it was very fulfilling because it wasn't just like, hey, we're coaching, let's get your basketball skills up. We were preparing them for the next level. So, there'd be days where we come in and we're just purposely harsh on certain guys, and we want to see how you respond, because then the teaching comes and it's like, hey, okay, you get a scholarship, you get to the school, coach just doesn't like you for whatever reason. Maybe you weren't his guy, maybe he thought he was going to get another player and he ended up getting you. Maybe you're international, you don't speak the language. Coach don't fuck with you. How do you respond?
Yep.
Do you complain about the coach? Do you do what I did and start smoking and drinking and doing all the other stuff? Or do you lock in and say, you know what? I don't care if coach don't like me. I'm going to be so good that you got to play me. Coach Trickett told me, Menelik, I'm going to sit you for a year and we're going to teach you the game and then you'll play your senior year. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not going to sit around idly anymore and put this in the hands of somebody else. And that is what coaching is missing. And that's what you were saying. It's like, it's a very important job. It's very, very important. Like I said, not only are you teaching about life, about the sport, you're teaching about things about life, man. Like, this is serious stuff. My basketball coach, when I was at college, Chuck mine, yeah, I'm going to air you out. I remember we used to stand there. First and foremost, we would always start games. We were always tired. He would always over-practice us, right? So we would pull up to games and we were already tired. So the first couple of minutes, we were close. Then before the first timeout, which comes 7 minutes into the game, we were already down 15, 20 points, right? Because the other team would just run us out of the gym. He would take a timeout and scream composure. Composure! It's like, how can you scream composure? Then he would always have these practices and
Composure, für die nicht wissen, was Composure heißt, das ist in Kontrolle von deinen Emotionen zu sein.
Ja.
Gelassen. Aber alle Coaches sagen immer, ey, we gotta be composed. We gotta be composed. Und so, ey, du bist gar nicht gelassen gerade. I'm saying, man, you're not
Makes no sense.
Relaxed at all.
At all. So I remember one day, he would always give us these spiels about life because he would tell us he was teaching us about life, right? And one day he was talking, and he's giving us a spiel. It's been going on for 20 minutes, right? And his son is probably about 4. His son about John. He's on the other side of the court. And he's talking to us, and he turns down and he looks at his son. He's like, look at Jordan. He ain't going to be shit. Look at him. He wants to come to work and play basketball. He ain't going to be good. Look at him. And I used to think to myself, I was like, wow, you really talk about your own 4-year-old son like that? So you really don't care about us.
Yeah.
So all these things I was noticing, but I was allowing to affect my preparation. Almost like I was like, I don't care if we lose because he'll get fired. So I kind of almost wanted us to lose. But what it was doing, it was drawing away from me.
Yeah.
But when, like I said, I always wanted to take control of that situation and make sure that I never put it in anyone's hands ever again.
Man, this...
Crazy, right?
You're a beast, dog. You're a beast. Yo, listen, we've been talking for an hour and a half. Menelik Watson, geht auf sein Instagram, gibt ihn Kuss, Auge, Germany flag, alles, was ihr wollt. You know, we always say we kiss your eye in Germany. It's just like showing love, you know?
Yeah, love.
Geht mal bei ihm gerne vorbei. Today, it's usually Kasim's Märchenstunde, but today it was Menelik's Märchenstunde. I was the guest. No, but, you know, say whatever you want to say to the people, then, you know, you can just hang up, and then I'm gonna say bye. I'm gonna do the outro after that.
Yeah.
So whatever you gotta say, it's your floor right now.
So first and foremost, shout out to Germany. All the people, I hope everybody's safe. Shout out to Beyond Warner and your beautiful family, your beautiful wife, Denise. I hope you guys are well. Kasim, love you. You've been a beast. You're still a monster. Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, let's keep growing this game. Let's force the American hands a little bit, and let's get more European people out here really pushing the boundaries, man. Let's kick the doors down and let's show these Americans that we can do it just as good as you are better. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to my family. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. It's my birthday tomorrow, so nobody message me because I'm not replying to nobody. I'm gonna pour myself a drink. I haven't had a drink in a while, so pour myself a drink and kind of salute myself and kind of take this time to reflect another year around the sun. Thanks, Kasim, man. Thanks for. Let's do this again soon, man. Let's keep chopping.
One thing I'm gonna finish off with you is one thing I know for a fact is good people, positive people with good thoughts attract each other. You know,
yeah.
And there's a reason why we still in contact. You know, there's a reason why you and Bjorn have that history y'all have, because it's really on this life journey that we've been having so far.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a reason why we still in contact, and why really it's a beautiful thing to see what you can achieve, or even, you know, we ain't talked for a year or so. It don't matter. But
don't.
you connect, I know where your head is, you know where my head is, and
Yep.
it's only creating greatness. So
Yes.
thanks for being on, man, and go enjoy that birthday tomorrow, bro.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right.
So, großes Gesicht. Ein Ehrenmann, super toller Typ. Wie gesagt, ja, Mann, es freut mich sehr, euch einfach Leute zu zeigen in meinem Leben, die einen positiven Eindruck auf mich gemacht haben. Und einfach, es gibt so viele, von dem hat man nicht die Story gehört. Und einfach aus einer anderen Sicht was zu hören. Weißt du, das ist ein Junge aus UK, der keine Ahnung hatte über Football und auf einmal komplett durchgedreht ist. Und es gibt echt noch ein paar Jungs und auch noch ein paar Mädels, die ich gerne noch in die Märchenstunde holen möchte. Und einfach mal, dass ihr deren Story hört, weil ich glaube, es ist sehr inspirierend, motivierend und ich glaube, keiner hört von jemandem so eine Story und sagt so, scheiß drauf. Ich glaube, da ist wirklich so ein bisschen, wo man sich selber auf sein eigenes Leben reflektieren kann und denkt, weißt du was? Morgen drehe ich durch. Ja, Mann, aber 1 Stunde 30 Minuten. Danke für alle, die durchgehalten haben. War auf Englisch, war heute alles ein bisschen anders. Dr. Mark war nicht am Start. Ich hoffe, wie war eigentlich die Quali heute von der Kamera? Weil ich habe mit meinem neuen Adapter, ich hoffe, die Quali ist ein bisschen knuspriger als sonst. Und ja, Mann. Sehr schön, sehr schön, sehr schön. Wie gesagt, ich hoffe, euch geht's gut. Ich hoffe, ihr habt einen guten Start in die Woche gehabt. Ich mache jetzt meinen Proteinshake. Und vielen Dank fürs Dabeisein. Also, lasst doch mal ein bisschen Liebe da. Für die, die noch mal Lust haben, Mark Ingram hat heute Geburtstag. Also lasst ihn auch ein bisschen Liebe da, wenn ihr ein bisschen Zeit habt. Weil er weiß auch natürlich, dass Onkel Mark Leute in Deutschland hat. Also, ich bin raus. Er hat sogar Bademantel gehabt. Top. Ich bin raus. Ich weiß nicht mehr, was ich sagen soll. Ich sehe euch morgen. Ich freue mich. Hadi bakalım. Tschö.